I have two 4x4-inch squares here, and I've cut two 4x4-inch squares of Heat and Bond. Now I'm using Heat and Bond Ultra iron-on adhesive, and it says for the strongest no-sew bond. And I'm following the directions on the back. Now I got this roll quite a while ago at Walmart, and it says it's 17 by 3¼ yards. So I bought it quite a while ago. I don't use it all the time, but it does last a while. So it says to preheat your iron to the silk setting, and then you'll notice with your Heat and Bond, you'll have a rough side and then a paper side that's smooth. So I have the rough side up, and I'm putting it against the wrong side of the material. Line it up. Now you don't want to have a bunch of Heat and Bond hanging over like this when you're ironing, because this will start to stick to your iron or your ironing board and it makes a mess. So you want to make sure that you cut it to the exact size as your fabric and line it up before you press. Okay, so we're going to press this, and it says for 1 to 2 seconds, but I actually do it a little bit longer. I'll do about 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you do it 1 to 2 seconds, it doesn't tend to get all the glue off of the sticker and stick to the fabric. So you let them cool, and then we peel back. And now you can see that there's the glue adhesive side is on the fabric, and it's shiny and smooth. You can see that it's shiny and smooth, and there's nothing left on the paper. So we can throw these papers away now, and we'll head over to our Cricut machine. Okay, so we're over at the machine, and I have my mat, and you want to use a fairly sticky mat. And then we're just going to take the shiny side of the fabric side up, and stick it down to our mat. Now the shiny side of the fabric helps adhere to the mat, and it shouldn't slip at all. If you're not really sure and you're not using a really sticky mat, you can use a brayer if you have one of those, or a rolling pin, or just firmly rub to make sure that the fabric sticks. Now I have seen where, and I have done this method as well, where you leave the paper on, and then you put this fabric side down on your mat and tape it with painter's tape, and you can cut your fabric that way. Now it works great. The only concern I have with that is if you're doing letters, you're going to want to use flip and do everything a mirror image, because when you go to flip it, it will be backwards. Okay, so I've loaded in my mat with my fabric on. I'm going to change my size to 3 inches. You're going to want your speed at low, which is the 2nd notch, your pressure at max, which is the 5th notch, and your blade at 4. Okay, I've actually switched my colors around because I want to do the base first. So now the problem with this is when I dial in 3 inches, it's going to do the whole height of this flower, and I don't want that. I actually want the flower to be 3 inches. So I'm going to do the real dial size like we did in the previous tutorial on letscricut.com. And now this flower will be 3 inches high. Okay, so I have my real dial size on, and I'm going to find my flower on my keypad, and we'll just view it here, and that's the right cut, so we'll go ahead and cut. Okay, now that I have done the flower at 3 inches, I need to do the layer. Now I can't do the real dial size on for the layer at 3 inches because it'll make this flower 3 inches. So I'm just going to guess that it's about, I think I'll do about 2 inches, and we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty sure it'll work. So I'm going to move my blade down to my 2nd fabric. I'm going to put real dial size on again, layer, and then I'm going to push the flower and cut. Okay, so I have my 2 cuts. Now you notice that they do fray a little bit, but that's normal. If you were to use scissors and cut out an image, it would fray as well. The heat and bond will prevent it from further fraying right through the fabric. Also, don't panic if you have to use scissors to cut some of the image free from the other fabric. I did have to do that with this flower. In some areas it did catch, like say along here it caught, so I just took scissors and snipped it out. Alright, so now that I have my flowers cut out, let's go back over to the ironing board. Alright, so I have my base fabric here, and I'm going to be making a purse with this project. Now, you don't have to make a project to do this. You could make a quilt, you could make a bag, a tote, a shopping bag, whatever you want, a pillow cover. But you can also just buy something that's plain and dress it up. Like you can take a onesie and put a shape on that. Or you can buy a pillowcase and decorate it. So I'm going to put this flower over here on the side. So I'm going to layer my project and iron it all down at one time. Again, you don't want to overdo the heat. It will cause it to not stick to the fabric. So I'm just going to hold the iron, and it's going to be, well, it's not quite ready yet, but it's on the silk setting, no steam, and we'll just wait for it to be ready and we'll go ahead and press. I'm going to do it for 4 to 6 seconds, and if it doesn't stick, then we'll do it for another 4 to 6 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's not sticking very well, so we're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that should work. Now with the silk setting on, it takes a little bit more to get it to stick. I was using the cotton setting on and I got it too hot and then it started to peel. So you want to use the silk setting and just do it 4 seconds at a time or 6 seconds at a time until it sticks. So next I have some buttons from Stamping Up, and they're called the Button Bouquet, and they coordinate really well with this project. So I'm going to take out some buttons that will work. So I've decided to go with a blue button and then a little pink flower button on top. I've sewn on my buttons, and there is my project. So it's really fun. There's so much you can do with fabric and cutting out on your Cricut. You want to stick to basic shapes. If you're using a flower that has little cut lines in it to help you line up your layers, you're going to want to do a blackout image of that if you can. If not, if you have a gypsy, you can erase those cuts, which is a really neat function with the gypsy. But if you don't have a gypsy, just make sure that you choose solid shapes, simple shapes, and shapes that either have a blackout option as well if you're doing flowers or whatever like that, so you're not tearing up your fabric. So here is my finished project. I made a little purse. Again, you don't have to make something to take advantage of cutting fabric with your Cricut. So here's the Let's Cricut challenge. Use fabric and your Cricut machine to create any type of project. Upload the project in the March 2010 Fabric Challenge Gallery in the Let's Cricut Gallery on letscricut.com. There will be a link below this video. These projects can be anything. They can be onesies, t-shirts, quilt applique, basically anything as long as you use your Cricut and fabric to make the project. You have between March 15th and March 31st at 11:59 p.m. on March 31st, Mountain Standard Time. The gallery will close. There will be a winner decided and announced on April 1st. Our team and members at letscricut.com are excited to see the projects that will come with this challenge. Have fun!